So as voters cast their ballots tonight in Louisiana's Senate primary, President Trump is already using the race to settle an old score. Trump took to Truth Social earlier to attack incumbent GOP Senator Bill Cassidy, who voted to convict Trump after the January 6th insurrection, calling him, quote, a disloyal disaster and a sleazebag, terrible guy who is bad for Louisiana. Trump also endorsed Cassidy's Republican primary opponent, Congresswoman Julia Letlow. And now the race is being seen as a test of Trump's power and Cassidy's survival. Professor Eddie Glaude is still with us. So as we await the results tonight, Professor Glaude, what could tonight's outcome tell us about either Donald Trump's rise in terms of his political power or the strength that he still has, or whether it could be a bellwether for his decline?
Donald Trump is turning up the heat inside the Republican Party. Longtime GOP figures are under pressure, and internal battles are getting more expensive, more public, and more intense. Tonight, we're breaking down Trump versus Bill Cassidy, the Lauren Boebert controversy, the Thomas Massie showdown, and the growing debate over accountability in American politics. If you believe in informed debate, strong leadership, and putting America first, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it.
My gut instinct tells me that it's going to be give us a sense of the ongoing strength of Donald Trump's pull among his base. We saw what happened in Indiana. I think we're going to see a repeat of it in Louisiana. If anything, it's going to be even worse, I think, in terms of the vote in this sense. For Trump, this is what he does. This is the cudgel that he holds over the Republican Party, and folks have to either be courageous and stand on the potential consequences of their actions, or they're going to be cowardly and just cower.
What's incredible about this particular race is that Cassidy has not distanced himself from Trump, which is like, if you kind of look at what's happening with Tom Massie has let loose on Donald Trump. He's gone after Trump, and now it's a full-blown war. What's really sad here is that you see Cassidy being attacked, and he continues to debase himself and humiliate himself by saying, there's no fight between me and Donald Trump, and there's no, he tries to kind of still ingratiate himself to Donald Trump while he's being humiliated by Donald Trump. And I just can't wrap my head around.
He said he was going to, he introduced a bill to rename some major highway after Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It's
weird.
He's humiliating.
It's weird, but the reality is that
Donald Trump, though, he did vote for impeachment. So I just think there's no
never going to be
recovery.
forgiven for that.
Bill Cassidy never could recover. No matter what he did at the altar of Trump, there was never going to be any recovery.
And Massie's different in the sense that it's the Epstein files. He's to the right of Trump. He's trying to hold him to be accountable for what he ran for. Cassidy, he filed the
and the Massie race is turning into the most expensive House primary ever. And let's talk about what's happening with someone who decided to campaign for Thomas Massie, and that's Lauren Boebert. And she now got a nasty gram Truth Social from Trump. And he was saying, attacking her for campaigning with him. And do you think that Boebert's days in MAGA world may be numbered now that Trump has branded her as an enemy? It's over for her.
Well, perhaps, but Marjorie Taylor Greene has kind of demonstrated that there's a lane for these sorts of folk to land and occupy. I find it all to be so deeply depressing on a certain level. And look, can I be snobbish for a minute? These are some very mediocre people, and Donald Trump is tweeting or posting or whatever you call it on Truth Social, and you just think, this is the level and depth of our politics? This is what's happening in a moment when gas is over $4.50-something a gallon, and a $50 bill can't get you nothing in the grocery store? This is what we're doing?
Although I will seize on one thing that you said, Elise, which is that this is going to be a very, very expensive primary, great. The more money that the RNC has to fritter away on their own primaries, the weaker they will be in the general. Please throw all of your money fighting over, the Texas Senate primary among Republicans, or among Massie's race, or any of these other places where it should be a gimme for Republicans, right? And instead they are creating their own very expensive drama.
Well, speaking of Lauren Boebert before in the state of Colorado, a Democrat, Governor Jared Polis, he gave Trump a win yesterday, and he commuted the prison sentence of Tina Peters. a former county clerk and 2020 election denier. And it's something that has outraged Democrats across the country, confused folks. I want you to take a listen to some of what he told CNN.
We don't punish people in this country for having strange beliefs. If you believe the earth's flat, you don't get, and you shouldn't get in our nation or my state, a harsher sentence than somebody believes that the earth is round. And that's what happened here because of her speech and what she believes, which I vehemently disagree with. And I share the passion and the emotions that so many people feel who are outraged by the words she says. But the place to resolve those differences is by debate, by discourse, by arguing with her, by disputing her, not for keeping her behind bars.
I mean, she tampered with election equipment.
Yeah, I thought that was
Flat Earth comparisons.
It wasn't a free speech question that led to her conviction. Now, look, I believe in grace. I don't believe that people should be thrown away. I think we can be excessively punitive in this country across the board. Folk I care about have borne the brunt of that practice. But I do want to liken this to something. Going back to our first conversation, the Confederacy wasn't really held to account, right? 600,000 left dead on land and the sea. Andrew Johnson, after Lincoln's assassination, was just going to bring the South back. No accountability. We didn't uproot it. And so this sort of move to me, right, foreshadows a general disposition, right, that we will allow people who literally threaten the very foundation of our democracy to get away with it. And then it will come back to haunt us as the ghosts have us by the throat today. And so to me, it's not so much about me not lacking grace, because we want to give everybody, I don't want to throw anybody away, but people have to be held to account. And I'm so worried about the legacy of Copperheads. I'm so worried about those folks who didn't want disunion, but who agreed with the South. Those folk who allowed this stuff to fester. I'm so worried about feckless people who will allow those folks who've endangered this fragile experiment to continue
and there
unaccounted
got to be
for.
some Democrats just like rolling their eyes deep into their back of their heads right now, because it's hard to imagine a Republican in this current political environment doing that for a Democrat. Something like this. And like,
absolutely.
Yeah, it just, the idea is just hysterical. Like, it just wouldn't happen. There's no way.
They're throwing away the key.
Yeah.
Instead of letting her. No, I just find it deeply disturbing on a number of different levels.
As voters watched political developments unfold in Louisiana, President Trump once again showed that his influence inside the Republican Party remains powerful. Trump publicly criticized Senator Bill Cassidy after Cassidy's vote to convict Trump following January 6th and backed a Republican challenger, making it clear that political loyalty and accountability inside the party are still major issues. Now, whether people agree or disagree with Trump's strategy, one thing is impossible to ignore. Republican voters continue to pay close attention to leadership, consistency, and whether elected officials stand by the principles they campaign on. From a conservative perspective, this raises a serious question. What should Republican voters prioritize? Party unity, policy victories, or accountability when politicians move away from promises they made to voters? At the same time, another Republican conflict appears to be growing around Congressman Thomas Massie and Congresswoman Boebert. Massie has openly challenged President Trump on certain issues, while Boebert's decision to publicly support him has reportedly created political tension within MAGA circles. This has sparked broader debate among conservatives about independent voices versus political loyalty. Here is my view. Disagreement inside a movement is not automatically weakness. Healthy debate matters. Conservatives are strongest when ideas are challenged respectfully, principles stay consistent, and elected leaders remember who sent them to Washington in the first place, the American people. But there is also a practical political reality here. When Republicans spend millions fighting one another in expensive primaries, many voters understandably wonder whether that energy could be better spent focusing on inflation, border security, government spending, public safety, and economic growth. And speaking of accountability, another major story raising eyebrows involves Colorado Governor Jared Polis commuting the sentence of Tina Peters. Supporters of the move argue it reflects fairness and concerns about government overreach or excessive punishment. Critics argue accountability matters when public systems and election integrity are involved. No matter where someone lands politically, this issue highlights something important. Americans want fairness under the law, transparency, and trust in institutions. These conversations deserve serious discussion instead of political theater. At the end of the day, this moment feels bigger than personalities. This is really about the future direction of the Republican Party, the balance between loyalty and independence, and how conservatives respond to challenges inside their own movement while staying focused on the issues everyday Americans care about most. If you value calm analysis, patriotic commentary, and fact-driven conversations about American politics, like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.